Hi guys, I'm back again letting you know what's going on this week with session 2 of Paul the Apostle, Not Good Enough. So hopefully you've still got your books. If you need an extra copy, please let me know. I have extras. This week we're really starting to dive into Paul's writings, and so we're going to kind of walk through the book of Romans. David Nasser takes us on this trip down the Romans road, gives us some really good information, and really this is a great opportunity to dig into that scripture. So I hope you enjoy the opportunity. All right, so the first section here that shows up is the intro. The intro is a little confusing. It would have come from a follow-up piece in the previous section that we ended up taking out. But really what the intro question is asking here is there something that you did this week to step away from culture and to spend time with God? And what was that like? And if they didn't do that, that's okay. Challenge your kids to do that next week. If you as a leader haven't found an opportunity to do that, I challenge you to do that. It's a great exercise. So our next piece is called the icebreaker. If your group is more active and hands-on and needs an activity to get up and move around, I have an alternative for you that's not written in the book here, and I'll send out some information in the email with that as well. But what's written here is a really good discussion. If your group's more talkative, chatty, you just need to hang out and spend some time in your room together, go for it. Dig in, talk about your favorite place to eat and how to get there and how directions are important. If your group does need to get up and move around, though, I strongly suggest you do a blindfolded guide exercise. So you blindfold one of your students on your team in your small group, and you as the leader, or you can send them with another kid, they take that blindfolded person to somewhere in the church and tell them this is the route you have to take, and then you go back. And once that blindfolded person gets back to the room, they can take their blindfolded off, and they need to take everyone in the group to that spot using the original directions that they got from the other person. And the person who's taking your blindfolded person around as a guide shouldn't say anything, should probably lead them on a little bit of a crazy route, but it should be short. It shouldn't take you all that long. The exercise itself can be really fast. I've done it in under 3 minutes to blindfold someone, take them to where they're going on a crazy route, bring them back, and then get the group moving to that spot again. But it's a great way for you to talk about directions and what it's like to be led without directions. And then also what it's like for the blindfolded person to have to give directions, only knowing part of what they've done because they couldn't actually see it. They only know it by memory and by feel. So that can be a good discussion if your group needs to get up and move around a little more. Okay, so all of this leads us into a conversation about direction. And David Nasser's video this week is a little bit longer. It's 14 minutes. So to accommodate for the time, instead of having some groups not getting done until after 7:30, we're going to do just one showing at about 7:05. So if your group meets in your small group room normally, quick get your things together and run into the multi-purpose room. We'll try to hold over just a little bit if we have to, but my goal would be to get you back in your classrooms by 7:20. So 7:05 in the multi-purpose room, we'll do our first video showing. Okay, so the section you'll see next after the video in the book is discussion. It's not the Bible discussion we would normally dig into. This is more of an introduction and really a let's process things David said in the video more than it's let's process what David was talking about with scripture. So if your group just wants some time to attach onto the video and the Romans road and what happens there, awesome. Use this, run with it. I put it in there for you to use it if it'll work with your group. If your group is the kind of group that dives right into scripture or probably needs to dive right into scripture, feel free to skip this section or just do 1 or 2 questions out of there. One of the pieces that I think is really good in this section is the discussion about Adolf Hitler and Billy Graham. They may not know who Billy Graham is, so you may want to have them just quick look him up on Wikipedia, or if you know who he is, tell him about him. But everyone, hopefully, by this point in time, knows who Hitler is, and we hopefully don't have to have that discussion. Really what the questions in here are getting at is that all of us are sinful. It goes back to that Romans 3:23, for all have sinned, all fall short of the glory of God. And we're talking about how no sin is better or worse than others. We have a tendency to say, oh, I didn't murder someone, so I'm okay. Or I didn't cheat on someone, so I'm okay. Or I didn't cheat on my test, so I'm okay. Or I didn't steal anything, so I'm okay. It was just a little white lie. Or we try to justify it, and we try to say that one sin is bigger than another sin. But really what it is sin separates us from God. No matter how big or how little, we're still separate from God. And so it's not about how you quantify or tell someone how much or how little you've sinned. It's simply that we all have sin in our lives. So that piece can be a really good discussion piece if your group kind of needs to come back to that basic. If your group has a good handle on it, I wouldn't hash it over and over and over again. I'd just move into the Bible section and try that next piece. Okay, so I think David does a really great job of breaking down the Romans road and really what that was and what that meant in Rome. And I think he does a great job of explaining where Paul was going by including these verses in Romans. Now, the Romans road is totally something we've created in the modern times. We've taken all of these verses out. As you'll notice, they're not in order of the way they're written in Romans, but they do a really good job of outlining why we have Jesus' salvation and why it was necessary for Jesus to come to die and how we live out our lives as a result of that. So I really, really do strongly encourage you to dig into the Bible section this week and get the kids into these 5 verses especially. And I would strongly encourage you, don't leave out Ephesians 2, 8, and 9. And I'll come back to that in just a minute. So the plan handout, and all of your kids should have this. If you need extras, I do have them. But the plan handout is a great visual way and a great note-taking way if you have some learners in your group to walk through the Romans road and to dig into this scripture. For me, I'm a note-taker. I jive on this. I think it's the greatest thing. I have a friend who's a visual learner who needs sheets like this to stay organized. Whatever works best for your group, go for it. You may have some kids who think this is awesome. You may have some kids who think this is useless. I'm not going to be offended if no one uses it in your group. But it can be a good way for you as a leader, too, to track how you're going to move through these different verses. One of the best ways that I've seen it done is to split the verses up among your group, assign a verse to 1 or 2 kids, have them look them up, and rewrite them into their own words and help them understand it, that one verse, on their own really well. And then let each pair of kids share their answers and their way of understanding, and then talk about kind of what this means as a whole as you walk through it. That's not what's in the discussion guide, so if that's your forte and you want to do it that way, go for it. What's written in the discussion guide is also really good. The way they walk through and include those verses and talk about them and ask questions can be really helpful for some groups. I keep mentioning Ephesians 2, 8, and 9, and I swear I have a good reason. Martin Luther attached onto Ephesians 2, 8, and 9 as one of those verses that got him through nailing the 95 Theses on the door and really for him solidified one of the problems that was going on with the Catholic Church in the Reformation. And so Ephesians 2, 8, and 9 talks about how works don't build us up to our salvation. We can't do good things to earn God's love for us or salvation or grace, any of the things that we talk about as being so important. Really, the work is already done in Jesus Christ. We say the work is finished, and what happens next is our response. We have a choice when we receive that gift from God to respond by then doing good works and living in a life of faith and following Jesus Christ. Okay, so that's what I have for you this week. If you have questions, if anything I've said is confusing, if you're getting stuck up on something that David's saying or that the book has included, send me an email, shoot me a text message, get in touch with me somehow. Let's talk it out. I want to make sure you're feeling prepared going into this week. That's what these videos are for. So if there's something at all that's tripping you up, or if you're having problems in your group, or if your group members have questions about things that are coming up, I know you guys are having great discussions. I love hearing about what's going on in your small groups. If something's coming up, please come and talk to me. That's what I'm here for. Beyond that, that's what I have for you this week. So hopefully you're excited about this. Hopefully your discussions last week went great and you've enjoyed the videos. I know some of you are meeting offsite and some of you are meeting here. Just keep me posted about where you're going to be each week. and we'll go from there. I hope all is well for you guys, and many, many blessings in your weekend and in the week to come. We'll see you on Wednesday.